All right, welcome back to another video where I'm going to go over and showcase the Chapter 3 island of Exotic Venture VR. And can't believe it's the third chapter, but there is a lot to talk about this new chapter, a lot of new things added into the game, and as well as that, a lot of new POIs, biomes, and other things that have really changed up how the map compares to other VR maps that I've made. This video will showcase everything that was added and as well as that just Easter eggs around the map. There's a lot to talk about in this video, so yeah, I'm gonna get into it. So let's get into the spawn island first. Now, the spawn island is one of the biggest things that have changed for the third chapter of the map. One of the bigger changes is the fact that the map for, well, the spawn island itself is bigger. Now, in size, the first spawn island isn't bigger than the first two. However, comparing the fact that it has two islands, it is technically bigger in how much you can actually explore. But let's go through this. Now, this is where vehicles will be showcased. This is where any new vehicles that are added in the game are showcased here, or if there's a vehicle that just got added back, it will be showcased here. Then we come over here, and this is the gun store, or not the gun store, but the loophole station building, where it shows everything that's in the loophole, ranging from weapons to consumables. So yeah. Now coming over to here, we have a shop section, and also where you can do challenges. Now there is the particles where you can go over and get, and you can also get weapons and other stuff. Now to explain this will take a little bit of time, so I'm not going to explain it, but these have different rarities which have different prices to them. So yeah, the challenge section is pretty easy to understand. Green is a pretty easy challenge, yellow means it's a medium, and red means it's a difficult challenge. And these can change every 2 weeks or every week depending on if I'm actually able to or not. Now, that is not it for the entire island. There is another section which is from that teleporter, and right over here. This shows all of the heroes that you can turn into. That is a new system in the game where you can turn into heroes. And for the second week of the game, every 2 weeks there will be or every week there will be a new hero that will be added into the game. All right. Now I'm gonna get onto the map. Now, getting onto the map, there is a lot of POIs, so I'm going to talk about POIs and buildings that have now returned. Now, first of all, we have Hunter's Arena. This is a new POI, however, the building is the building from the last chapter. Now, it's not very much changed that much. The building is very much the exact same as it was. However, the biggest difference is the new drones. Now, I'm going to talk about drones later. However, they are a big thing added into the new chapter. As you can see, the new power up is actually here. You can only get these powers in certain POIs, and there's only really maybe one or two around the map, so they are not easy to find. But under the POI, there is a skeleton of a dragon, and this will link to the storyline eventually. So yeah. Now getting on to the other POI that's actually pretty close to it, we have Butter Barn Fields. Now Butter Barn Fields is basically a remake of Leafy Farms, however, is now had a butter or not Butter Barns, Man Cake has now taken over the POI and has now made it basically Butter Barn. And as you can see, the main barn building has been decorated full on with now being a bar. And yeah, and the other building that was in Leafy Farms has now been updated to now resemble a storage building for this POI. The main house has now been shown to start getting decorated as now props are being moved into the POI. And yeah, the POI is very similar. However, it does have the autumn biome that is surrounding it. And yeah, at the bottom part of the POI, there is a little dock area where there is a house with something to do with the storyline, as you can see. And as well as that, there is a little dock right here, and there is a little watchtower, I guess. And yeah, that is this entire POI. Now the surrounding areas, as you can see, there is the cabin that has returned for the third chapter in a row. This has shown up for three different chapters now. So yeah, it will keep showing up every chapter. And yeah, that is this portion of the map. As well as that, we have Cubic Havens, which is another POI, which is sh- um, a POI that is ripped from Cubic. There was a different POI that had Cubic in the name. I forgot what it was called, but yeah. Now, getting on to the other section of the map, we have this part. Now, this POI is Kitsuna Square. This is a small POI, which you'd probably want to go to later in the match, but it also has drones and is a pretty nice POI to go to mid-match. And yeah, there's nothing really too special to say about this POI. However, SUVs have been added into the game. There's also another power here. However, it's not going to be added until later in this season. Now coming over to here, this is one of the more bigger and better POIs on the map, and this is Pleasant Springs. Pleasant Springs is a huge POI, not huge, but very you know, decorated and has a lot of buildings you can explore. There are multiple houses like this one. And if we come over here, there is a mini restaurant and house right here. And there's another big house right here as well. There's also another power right here, which is going to be added later in the season. It's going to take a lot longer than others. There's also a mini museum right here, which shows some artifacts throughout Fortnite's actual history. And yeah, and there's also a mini like this is supposed to be a watchtower. There's also a house right here. And across this bridge, which is a pretty nice bridge, there is this building, which is from Misty Rivers. And there's a mini park. Now, going close to the POI, there actually is a mini island right here. This is a party island. And yeah, now coming over here, we have a forest, and then right over the forest, we have the block. Now, the block is a new POI, which is obviously straight from the actual block in Fortnite. And every 2 weeks, the POI changes, and some of the blocks change into a different theme. And that is going to be pretty cool as it makes the POI very unique for each 2 weeks. So yeah, we have a Shifty Shafts, a Primal, a Bird, and as well as a Risky Reels. Now, getting onto the other part of the Savannah biome, which is a returning biome back into this chapter, we have Lively Links. This POI also has the drones, which are very essential for its POI because there's not a lot of loot here. Even though it's a big POI, it doesn't have a lot of loot for some reason. But yeah, this POI is a rip from Fortnite's actual POI Utopia City, and that's where I really got it from. But to put it in the Savannah did make it a little bit more nicer. But I'm gonna get on to a different part of the map. Now we have the snow biome portion of the map. There's also a little block right here, which is ripped from the party rail game mode in Fortnite. Thought it was pretty cool. There are two holes right here which have things from the storyline. The other one doesn't, but it is a little reference to the first chapter's map. And there's a little cave here with storyline. Now coming up here, there is another POI which is unfinished, but it's called Battle Station Square. Now this POI is a pretty nice POI to go to. It kind of reminds me of more of a Eastern European like spot, and it's pretty nice of a POI fitting with the snow biome. Now across from it, there is the returning gas station, which was from the last chapter. And coming over to here, there is a really big cave that is below the POI. And yeah, for Basically, things you can find around the map that are too hard to find, yeah, there's not much. Other things you can find is a, Crackshot's cabin, which is pretty cool to find, and yeah, that is most of the map. Now I'm gonna get onto the mechanics, and at the very end, I'm gonna go through many secrets you can find around the map. Now, the mechanics of the map have very much differ from other seasons and other chapters. So let's go through it. Now, whenever you start the game, there is a pop-up that pops up where it is a mini menu. This menu has many sections where if you select one of them, it tells you stuff about what's added into the game or the storyline or just other things that make the game a little bit more interesting to know about. Now, once you're out of that screen, you now enter the spawn island, which I've already went through. But to go through the mechanics, there is some. Now, like I said, I've already shown some of the mechanics, and like I said, you can do challenges. As another thing you can go to is you can see what the powers are. Every week, whenever a power is added, its description and what its power is shown, and you can go over and see what the power is by going up to it and pressing on the power to see its description. Now, exiting out of the spawn islands, like I said, I was going to talk about the drones, which are a huge new part of the season, as every 2 weeks they are switched around from each POY. And these are exactly like the ones in Fortnite, where they will drop loot once destroyed. Now, another thing that was added is Slurp tornadoes. These are new um, ways of healing around the map where if you enter one, you will gain shield. There will be different types of tornadoes added throughout, and there might be other weather mechanics that also might be added in the season. And as well as that, to add on with the Slurp series, there is also Slurp zip lines. These can be found on some parts of the map and can also give you shield whenever you're on the zip line. Not going for other mechanics. The mechanics are very similar to what the last chapter and the chapter before that had, as there is a custom loot pool, and as well as that, there is obviously power ups which you can get around the map, which are going to be added throughout the season. But yeah, going through that, now I want to go through the secrets that you can find around the map, as these are another huge part of realistically the exploration of the map. So yeah, now, starting in the Savannah biome, there is some secrets which you can find, and one of them is one of these bunkers. One of these bunkers is a huge part of the storyline, but you won't know which one it is. But these bunkers all have a part of the storyline, and they all connect and are very similar to the IO bunkers, but I'm not going to say what they are because that'll just ruin the story. And right beside this bunker, pretty close to it, is Truckosaurus. If you know who Truckosaurus is, you know, but yeah, he's been added onto this map as well. And every week he will be updated to go over and make him a little bit more interesting and add a mini story as time goes through. Now, going through the rest of the map, as you can see, if you come over here, there is a dirt burger and a tomato sign. And you will see throughout the season, they will also be updated. So, yeah. Now, going over here, if we come all the way over to not here, where's there's something else? No, to find another bunker, a bunker is found right here, which is tucked been under a tree basically. So it's a little bit more hidden, but not too hidden compared to the last one. And coming all the way over to here, there is another bunker. Right behind Pipe Man. I don't know what to consider. I don't know what to call him. He was added in Fortnite Chapter 2, but I thought he was a pretty cool Easter egg to add into the map. As you can see, he's just looking off in the distance. But yeah, there's a bunker right here. And as well as that, there's a mini island which has some stuff from the old map. So yeah. Now coming over to here, this is where the last bunker is going to be. And this is where the end of the video is really going to end here, but the last bunker is found in the forest. Now, to end of this video, the chapter 3 map is might get published. I'm unsure about that, but the chapter 3 map will be getting updated weekly, and we'll be having trailers every 2 weeks for each new update. The winter update, which will be coming out in December, obviously, will be coming out very early for December and will last 3 weeks. And as well as that, there'll be a huge update in the middle of those 3 weeks, and the season will end by end of January. So yeah, this is the end of the video, and I hope you guys like the map showcase. And yeah, I will end it here.